Larry Sanders. I'm going to talk to you a little bit this week about breaking bread, how to do it, opportunities that you can create for yourselves to get in front of your clients and deepen those relationships. Before we jump into the material, though, let's recap some action steps from last week. Last week, you were looking to hand out some business cards. I think we said 10 business cards. You want to hand those out to people that you meet out there in public. Continue building and refreshing your database, whether you're building it from scratch and trying to add to it every day or refining it, maybe because you've neglected it for a little while. It's a top priority, and we want to rank everybody, right? A plus, A, B, C, maybe even some Bs there. We wanted to make 15 contacts, not phone calls, but contacts. And a phone contact is when you actually reach someone and have a conversation with them. Along with the contacts, we want to write a note for each one of those contacts. 15 contacts, 15 notes. Pretty easy formula there. During those interactions, remember, it's always important to ask for referrals. Find your comfortable way, but make sure that you're asking. And remember that those that ask always tend to receive, but closed mouths don't tend to get fed. And then you're going to cap that off with 5 pop buys. We are not talking about Kevin Long plot buys. These are quick visits where you spend just a few minutes with people, let them see you, hear from you, and vice versa, and then get the heck out of there. It's a good chance to spend time with people in a different way without necessarily putting the time in for a lunch or a dinner or a client party, that type of thing. So let's jump into it. Week 3, right? We're learning about breaking bread. These are kind of the unexpected extras for your clients, as Brian Buffini would put it. Things that, as part of your real estate business identity, they might not necessarily be expecting, but they probably will appreciate it. They're easy ways to have fun. This is one of my favorite things about real estate. I always felt like I could kind of party my way to success, and you can too. You just got to kind of find the recipe that works for you. Above all, this is about building relationships. So listening is what you're going to have to do a lot of, and asking some pretty specific questions to build those relationships is probably a close second. I wanted to give you a little bit of a formula to follow. This won't be as much a fill-in-the-blank type of video, but this is more intentionality, weekly intentionality, monthly intentionality, even quarterly intentionality. So what can you do weekly to break bread with your clients? I think coffees are a great start. Coffees, even though Starbucks is a little more expensive these days, coffees will typically cost you about $10 or less. Less expensive than a client appreciation party, a lunch, or a dinner, or anything like that. You can also set breakfasts up, lunches up, dinners, dinner parties. Any of those things are good for one-on-one FaceTime with clients. Monthly, though, it changes a little bit. I think the best opportunity, if you're doing coffees, lunches, and dinners weekly, is to look for a chance to do something a little bit greater on a monthly basis. And this is where I think something called a small batch client event is a good choice. This is something maybe for, let's say, 10, 15 people or less. Not a huge event, but not necessarily a one-on-one event either. Think poker night. Think the Super Bowl is coming up, a Super Bowl watch party, things like that. These give you an opportunity to get in front of a group of people, still being the exclusive source, but the event's not so big that you can't build relationships with everybody there. Once you move on past that monthly mentality, right now we're doing some stuff each week, we're doing some stuff each month. We want to maybe do something on a little bit of a bigger scale quarterly. And I think that's where your larger client appreciation events come in. These, again, maybe 15 or more people, kind of something you offer maybe to your whole database. Good examples of this, I think breakfast with Santa, right? Easter egg hunt at Easter time, maybe even like a Flying Squirrels game, a Richmond Kickers game, or something like that. It's an event where you can have a large group of people come to you and essentially do a reverse pop by. A lot of the effort is in the promotion of the event, the follow-up from the event, because during the event, it's hard sometimes to connect with every single person that's there. What I like to do for the larger batch events is I like to target maybe 5 or 6 people that I haven't connected with in a while, but I know are going to be at the event, and make it my job to talk to those people and get to know a little bit better that night. Another way to break bread with clients is to host business mixers. This is pretty cool because my team just hosted one last week. We had over 25 businesses in attendance. It wasn't an expensive affair. We did it at Oaklawn, and the feedback was phenomenal. Again, there's a lot of promotion involved, so the phone calls leading up to the event and the follow-up after the event are very much every bit as important as the event itself. So think of these. Think of each one of these, whether it's a business mixer, weekly event, monthly event, quarterly event, as accents to your lead generation. We're constantly looking for reasons to make calls, stop by to see people, and to write notes. And really, that's a natural part of the setup for each of these. And it's what we're supposed to be doing as realtors. So make it part of your weekly business plan, a staple in your calendar, if you will. I'm going to set X number of breaking bread sessions this week. I'm going to host my next client party on this date. I'm going to host my next business mixer on this particular date. And I think if you stick to that model, you'll find consistency and you'll be building your database and relationships while you do it. So let's talk a little bit about the not so common courtesies, and how do we convey this to the client the right way? How do we have the right one-on-one? How do we host the right client event? I'm going to give you a few tips here. The first thing you want to do is you want to exude positive energy. Nobody likes a bump on the log. Nobody likes bad energy. Bad energy breeds bad energy the same way that positive energy breeds positive energy. So exude positive energy. Look people in the eye. This seems to be a dying art in the world. I'm not saying stare into their eyes for 10 minutes straight, but there's a lot to be said for eye contact. Use the magic words, please and thank you. Please and thank you. Be an attentive listener and ask questions about them. Ask questions about them, right? We want to learn about them. And if you get people talking, you'll find that they have no problem at all talking about themselves. In fact, they feel flattered anytime that they're asked to. It might sound simple, but remember your clients' names. It's easy as you build your database and you haven't talked to somebody in a while to maybe forget it. Try to come up with some type of exercise where you know that you'll remember somebody's name or maybe not butcher it in the moment. I personally have to say somebody's name at least 3 or 4 times in my head before I can even think about committing it to memory. Don't make promises that you can't keep. That's a pretty big one. I think real estate kind of backs us into a corner sometimes where we feel like we have to please everybody, but we also only have so much time. So make sure that you're only making promises that you know you can keep. And above all, pay attention. Pay attention to what's important to your clients. What they tell you they need is the true roadmap to helping them. And if you're not meeting them on their terms, the chances are you're asking them to meet you on your terms, and those goals might not align. A couple of them to wrap up: have a firm handshake and smile. These are just general, not so common courtesies that might feel like they're dying in the world. But if you're doing these things, you're putting yourself ahead of the pack by just paying attention to them. So when you're setting up, let's say a coffee or something like that, I'll give you a little bit of before, during, and after to work on. First thing you want to do before you go to the coffee, before you even make the phone call, you want to develop a professional greeting. When you make the phone call to try to reach out to these folks, you want to know what you're going to say before you say it. So try to have a professional greeting, and call to connect relationally with them versus transactionally. This is not about business per se. This is about relationship building that will probably lead to business in the long run. So make sure you call to connect relationally with them versus transactionally, and keep it short. This isn't an opportunity to have a long phone conversation, interview, or anything like that. If anything, write those questions down and try to remember them so that when you actually sit down for the coffee, you've got some good stuff to talk about. Definitely have a place, location, date, and time in mind, but be flexible there. When you call them, maybe try to have a few of these ready so that you show your flexibility and you don't make them feel like they've got to meet you on a certain day or a certain time. But the best thing about being flexible and presenting options is that you have a really good chance of setting the appointment over the phone in lieu of having to hang up and maybe text back and forth 5 times just to figure out the time and place that you want to go. Just think efficiency. Let's move on to breakfast and lunches, kind of with that same before mentality. You're setting up a breakfast and a lunch a lot of times, I would say, with a past client or an inactive client. So somebody that knows you or has talked to you in the past, breakfast and lunches are a good way to get in front of inactive clients, just because it changes the setting. It kind of softens things up, but it still allows you to kind of reach some of those professional goals to maybe make them an active client again. So before, thank them for their past business and for the referrals. It affirms the identity of your business. And again, it's those magic words, right? Please and thank you. Be upbeat about the market, always upbeat about the market. You might hate where rates are right now. It doesn't matter. If you're not upbeat about it, nobody else is going to be upbeat either. You're the ambassador, or as Brian Buffini likes to say, you're the mayor of the local real estate market. And let them know about the inside information you have, right? This is intriguing to them. This is going to make them want to come out and meet you in addition to spending some time with you. This doesn't have to be like the big Brian Buffini report. This could be a simple, quick market analysis on their neighborhood. But it's going to be inside information for them because they don't have access to it the way that you do. And remember, it's not a sales call. It's a service call. We're calling to serve them with offerings, and we hope that they'll meet us for breakfast or lunch to do it. You'll see in your material there that there's a sample dialogue to follow. And I think it's a good idea to follow these dialogues to a T, but I also know it's important for each of us to feel confident about the words that we're saying. The only thing I'll tell you about these dialogues is if you change the recipe, just make sure that you know the dish is going to taste the same. Because if you change the ingredients, there might be adequate substitutes out there. But if you don't know the dish is going to taste the same at the end, it might be okay to just go with the recipe the way that it is. So check those dialogues out. Let's move on to during this breakfast or lunch, right, with a past or inactive client. Since the purpose of the appointment is to provide information and insight on the market, you want to ask lots of questions. You want to make sure that you're presenting information that they're actually going to want to hear. Listen intently, right? 2 ears, 1 mouth. And we did it that way for a reason. Present the real estate report or the other information that you told them they might have. Again, it doesn't have to be a swanky report. A lot of times, just some simple market statistics are really intriguing to people that don't have access to the information. And above all, during the meeting, ask for referrals. It's okay to let them know that your business is referral based. A large part of the identity is people trusting you enough with their friends, family, and coworkers to do business with them the way that you've done business with the person that you might be having breakfast or lunch with. Always ask for referrals. And there's even more sample dialogues there for you. You can follow those again. Remember the whole recipe versus final product mentality, but the dialogue gives you a really, really good format to follow. So you want to make sure, I like to call it, make sure you carry the conversation. You don't have to be overwhelming, but you do want to be conversational. You want to make sure that you've got plenty of stuff to talk about. You want to thank them for their past referrals, right? If this is a past client or anything like that, it's a perfect opportunity to thank them for confirming the identity of your business. And always ask lots of questions about them. As Ted Lasso would say, right? Be curious, not judgmental. And ask the next question. I like this idea. You put your detective hat on, right? Like you become an investigator. One question and one answer leads to another question, and it becomes a free-flowing conversation. It is okay to take notes. You might not think that it's okay to take notes. What I try to do to get around that is I ask permission. like, hey, is it okay if I take a couple of notes? There's a good chance that some of this good stuff we're talking about today, as the day gets away from me, I might lose it. I like to take notes so I can remember some of this stuff, for the next time we get together. You'd be surprised that taking notes it's okay. And then make sure you use the Mayor campaign or a version of it and stress the importance of referrals to your business. At the end of the day, if you want to build a business by referral, you're going to have to continually affirm that in the public, and you're going to have to continually ask for those referrals. So we had breakfast, we had lunch, we had a good little meeting. It was free-flowing conversation. It was mostly about them, and we're learning about them. We're learning how we can help them. So we wrap up, we kind of move on with our day, but we're not done. After, of course, write a note. Even better, be specific about something you talked about during lunch and include that in the note. It's an extra verification that you were listening to what they were saying. Record any pertinent information that you picked up in your database or your CRM, your contact manager, whatever you might call it. It might be a birthday, it might be a kid's name. They might have just got a new pet or something like that. But there's so much valuable information that we can gain and then log once we're back in the office. And always be looking for opportunities to fill a need. This is their need, right? And we hear their cry for help. Because we're connected, we're able to help. And that might mean some additional phone calls, some additional connections and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, that's our job, is to serve at that level. And in return, hope that they'll send us referrals when and if they have them. So let's wrap up talking about hosting a client party. First and foremost, you want to set a budget. I'll give you one better. Set a budget and recruit a couple of sponsors so that you're paying a minimal amount of that budget. Pick a theme, a venue, and start planning early. We have my team personally has a 2-week promotional timeline, but we start on the concept as much as a month and a half before the event starts. It's never too early to go ahead and get started. Send out invitations, maybe a save the date or something like that with a time, date, and location, and then follow up with a phone call, not just to anybody that didn't RSVP, but to confirm with the people that did that they're still able to make it to the event. Partner with vendors. When I say vendors, what I mean is the business affiliates that you have that you do the most business with. This is a chance for you to show clients that you're a united front. And a lot of times at Business Mixers, some of these people know each other, and it's very affirming for them to know that they work with the same person or realtor that some of their other friends or other business owners that they know work with. Use name tags and introduce people to each other. It might seem corny. Sometimes people come with name tags. That's great. But if they don't, we're not in an era where people are as outgoing as they were once upon a time. But if you've got a name tag, you kind of lower a lot of those barriers for them. Take lots of pictures and get feedback from your guests and send each of them a note after the event. What we like to do is we like to make sure we've got a solid RSVP list so that we can give that to everybody that attends. And from there, they're able to connect with each other. They're able to lean on each other when they have referrals, and they know that we were the source of all of it. Above all, whether this is a business mixer or a client party, you want to have fun. So make sure that you're doing things that jive with your personality. If you don't play golf, don't host a golf tournament. If you don't play poker, don't host a poker night. But be free with your choices, because there's something for everybody out there that'll help you do weekly one-on-ones like breaking bread, coffees, lunches, breakfasts. There's stuff you can do that are small batch events, nothing too crazy or expensive. And then there's plenty of large opportunities out there for you to have bigger client parties. Above all, though, you want to have fun with this. Otherwise, what's the point? So I'm going to give you some action steps, and then we're going to wrap this bad boy up. Our action steps: schedule at least 2 breaking bread sessions between now and week 4. Pick a time and date for a client event. Right now, we're just picking the time and the date for it. Create an invitation list and bring it to next week's meeting. Schedule at least 2 appointments. Again, make 15 COI contacts. Write a handwritten note to each of those contacts, so 15 notes, and again, 5 pop buys. And if you get that done, you've got good momentum. You're going into week 4, and you've got your first client event on the books. I hope this was beneficial.